Good day, everybody, and welcome to NASM Live. My name is Prentiss Rhodes, and I'm a product manager with NASM and also a master instructor. And I have with me today two special guests. I have Wendy Batts, who's also a master instructor and mama bear of the MI team. And I have Ken Miller, regional master instructor, all things master trainer, baseball trainer, and adventure racer. So welcome to both of you. We have some interesting topics for today. We're going to talk about how you can navigate the SBA loan process. And before we really dive deep into that, we're learning this information as quickly as you are. And things are changing daily, but I'll let Wendy and Ken share the information that they've learned about this process. We're going to talk about platforms that now you'll have to use, given the current circumstances, to still conduct your training sessions and stay in business. And finally, we're going to talk about maintaining your client interaction and how to keep them motivated during this process. In addition to just the X's and O's of training, people are still depending on us as a community for motivation. So we're going to share strategies of what we've done in the past to navigate difficult times. So before we dive into that, I want these two beautiful people to introduce themselves and talk about how they're doing during this quarantine. So let's go ahead and start with you, Wendy.
Well, my name's Wendy Batts. Like as Prentiss said, we're kind of all in this together. I am a regional master instructor, so I'm blessed to have NASM as a platform to reach out to multiple trainers that are also going through this same situation on how do you go from being a personal one-on-one trainer or group trainer to now having to take your business online. So I'm just grateful to be here today, and hopefully we can shed some light on some of the research that we found up until this point. And yeah, looking forward to questions and seeing if we can answer them.
Great. And Mr. Miller, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, like Wendy, I'm grateful to all National Academy of Sports Medicine in this trying time as far as it goes with personal training. So like most every other personal trainer, I am going through the same situations from a financial standpoint and having to figure out ways to keep revenue and income and, coming in, just basically considering that I'm a father of two. And not only am I trying to keep my business afloat, but I'm also, with my wife, we're homeschooling our kids, our first and our third graders. So when it comes to just the day-to-day and just trying to make it as a father, as a parent, as a provider, navigating through these waters as they are has been a nonstop. I mean, that has been my job for the last 2 weeks as far as keep things going, because in my facility where I'm filming from right now is in Alameda, and we are an independent personal training studio. So, having this place be here ready to come back has been my number one focus as not just a personal trainer, but also as an owner of a brick and mortar as well. So I'm just glad to have the support that I've had with my associates, not just with NASM, but other trainers and business owners as well in the fitness realm.
Great. And you brought up the magic word. We are all parents, and I'm sure some of our listening audience out there are parents as well. And things have changed on that front as well. I'm here now working at my desk with a computer. My wife is off in the other room. She's a professor at ASU having to conduct classes, and we're sharing Wi-Fi, and we're homeschooling. We're the PE teacher at home now. So and before we dive into those topics, because everybody's in the same boat, how are you navigating that right now? Wendy?
Well, for me, I have a 4-year-old, and it is amazing what they teach 4-year-olds in school these days. So we are working on letters and alphabets, but it's also trying to keep him active. I think the hardest struggle that we have is my little boy turned 4 yesterday, and so him not being able to be outside with his friends and have a party and do that, the type of things that he's used to doing every day. Plus, he's in soccer and gymnastics and swim, and with all of those extra activities being canceled, from a parenting standpoint, we're still trying to keep him active and motivated and still trying to get him outside. I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia, so it seems like it has rained every day other than the last 3 days. So that was also a struggle. But, I teach full time for Cal U, and so I am also a professor. So I'm trying to find, ways to juggle the mommy, play with me, do this, which I'm not used to doing because of him being off to school. But that, and then trying to build a business and then keep my business with my training clients as well. So, I think, I'll be happy to share a little bit later of how I'm making that work to make sure that I keep my clientele once this ban is lifted and we can actually go back into our one-on-one time. But I mean, it is a struggle, and that's just it. I mean, we truly are all in this together. And, even if you don't have children, still being apart from your friends and doing some of the activities that you enjoy doing, or even going to the gym yourself, it's all been challenging, but we have to find a way and have a support system now online that we've never had to do before. So. Absolutely.
And Ken, what other things are you doing with your family during this time?
I try to wake up early as it is, but now I have to wake up even earlier, to get my stuff done, get myself situated. And then it's not just about, I know not everybody that's listening to this, has children, but as far as wading through this, it's not just about getting the kids ready and then dropping off at school, as Wendy's talking about with all that. So now it's now you've got to look at their schedule and my schedule and really, and as my wife and I go, it's now she's like you, Prentiss, just saying, she's got her job to do at home with her job, telecommuting, and then I'm trying to do the same. And if we're going to hold a conversation, we got to, get the kids occupied first. And then I know I can hop on a call and hope for 10 minutes of quiet, which is why. So, but also, as we'll talk about with, keeping our clients motivated, we have to do the same thing with ourselves, with our own regimen and our own exercise programming. And there's just the things that we need to do for ourselves that's just been really hard, or a challenge to have to master, because now that we're sitting in front of a computer 10 times more than I've ever had to, because this is how we're communicating with everybody now, whether it's family, friends, or now with, teleconferencing with clientele. I find myself in the position and my clients get out of when, so there's a lot of epiphanies that have happened over these last couple of weeks, as far as me being where my clients are and what I have to help them do, and then now trying to manage exercise and health and wellness and considerations for my diet, nutrition, and all that stuff, when I have a 9-to-5 and have to think about exercise and all that stuff. So I think that these times have really put me in my clients' shoes for another mile than I've had to go in there before. So in these times, it's now you're doing a different job, but it's the same job, so to speak. So that's one big realization from a fitness instructor or a personal training strength coach standpoint, is that you're not sitting down. I mean, you're not sitting down before, but now you definitely have to sit down now to do a lot of the things that we're forced to do with social distancing and shelter at home.
Great. These are all great points. I think I'm in a little luckier, a little easier place now. I have a 10-year-old, and she's pretty she's pretty independent and self-starter. So once we get her going, we're free to work for.
Thanks for rubbing that in,
most
Prentiss.
of the day. Yeah, I had to.
Yeah,
I had to get
that.
one in some kind of way. And before we get started, oh, I just lost something. I'm getting questions already, and I just want those of you who are listening to know that I will get to your questions as they come in, and I'll kind of put them where in the appropriate topic. So I'm not ignoring you. Your questions will be answered. And having said that, let's go ahead and dive into the first topic. This is for you, Wendy, since I believe over the last few days I've talked to you most about it.
Okay.
How does someone who is a studio owner or an independent contractor navigate this SBA loan process to get some of that stimulus money to keep them going?
Well, I mean, keep in mind this is changing daily. So, what I say today may not be effective in a week from now. And then hopefully, we really don't know how long this is going to last. We thought in the very beginning it was going to be 2 weeks. And we let our clients know that, we're going to be back in 2 weeks. We're just going to set this out and kind of wait it out and do things on the side. As we know now, there's been, multiple talks that stuff's going to go on until the end of April, possibly into May, and who knows, even till June. So we need to kind of think about long-term worst case scenario instead of it being, the positive side, which is what we're, hopefully what we're used to taking. So with that being said, Prentiss, you mentioned something about the SBA loans, and what SBA stands for is it's the United States Small Business Administration. And they are currently providing a specific link. I actually sent it. I know NASM is going to post that link. And inside that link, there's a bunch of different references and resources that you can go in and search on your own. Because again, keep in mind that every state, every county even, and then the federal government is trying to help with any kind of relief that they can do for small businesses. Plus, everybody's in different situations. Ken is a gym owner. I work out, in a gym and give a certain portion of my income to that gym owner. Some people are 1099, some people are doing home clients. So depending on your situation, you're going to have to kind of look through the links to see what may best suit you to help you in this situation. With that being said, I mean, there's something called the Paycheck Protection Program. There's the SBA debt relief. There's something called an express bridge loan. So if you're going in and trying to get, a loan and you need a bridge to kind of help you in the short term, there's something that you can look into and see if that is, a type of loan that can help you in the current situation you're in. One of the big ones that I thought was interesting is something called an economic injury disaster loan and a loan advance. And this one right here, I'm just going to kind of read a little snippet that I grabbed. This loan is a program that provides small businesses with working capital loans up to $2 million. And this amount of money can help provide economic support to the small businesses for temporary loss of revenue, as well as to help pay your employees. This loan specifically, though, will let you get an advance for up to $10,000, and that loan advance does not have to be repaid. And so that is something that once you fill out all the paperwork, now keep in mind, this is some substantial paperwork that you're going to have to fill out with a lot of personal information you're going to have to include into these forms. But if you are to get accepted into this type of loan, you can, once you get accepted, it could take something or as less than 3 days to receive that $10,000 to help you in the financial situation that you're in. So again, the link that we're providing, it does offer a lot of different, different types of links and assistance programs to look into. So I think based on your situation as trainers, hopefully there's some valuable information that can help you in this time of need.
Thank you for that. That's really good information. And before we move on, Wendy, do you know anyone in your immediate circle who has gone through the process or who's starting the steps, and what information have you gotten from them? about how easy this is.
I
or
have.
not.
Well, I have. And again, I mean, they were my resources as well, because again, you can find so many or so much information if you type in, loans on Google. Like, the amount of information can be overwhelming. And so I didn't know specifically where to start to look to try to help with this type of information. And we did have a trainer that owns a small business, and they have gone through and filled out multiple loans, just to see if they qualified for any of them. They were doing reaches, like, they actually have some clients that are 1099s. And so what they're trying to do is get enough money to help these employees. So therefore they can feed their families, because they really do feel that they have been very valuable, and they don't want to lose those employees. However, they don't have the funds right now to really pay them, what they were used to getting paid each and every week. And so, some of the information that I found out that he had to provide in this specific application was, do you have any current personal stocks? How much money do you make, or did you make last year? How many employees do you have? What type of, what kind of income do you personally make, or what type of income does your family household bring in each and every month, and then also throughout the year? So it is some information. I mean, it's up to, like, one application process was over 10 pages long. So it's not something that you can just quickly fill out. You're going to have to actually information, because it is going to the federal government. So you want to try to provide as much specific information as you can. But they're also taking into consideration how many people that you have on staff, and what type of financial distress are you in, to see if you qualify.
Great. That is great information. So, Ken, I know you're also a facility owner. I recognize that space very well. What are you doing? What have you been able to do to navigate this process, if you have? And can you share that with us?
Yeah, I mean, Wendy's been pretty. I mean, she's just laid it all out there. Because the situation has been so dynamic every other day, and I'm so grateful for the amount of help that I've had as far as getting this information. I mean, I don't mind duplicate information as I'm getting it, because that SBA website has come up as far as people sending me information. That's come up multiple times. But it seems like every other link, and she's had a great list of resources that's come out. So, and I'm more of the perspective of having to click on the link and read it all. So there's just been a ton of reading from that standpoint. But I think from a gym owner's perspective, the one thing is that I did right off the bat was I talked to the landlord, and just so, I mean, for one, not to see what he can give me or what kind of allowances he can afford as far as my rent goes, but just to reassure him that I'm going to do what I can to keep this space, and I'm not just going to, just let it go. And, as far as this thing goes, so reassuring him, for one, that my intentions are to be back in this space as soon as we all get through this situation we're all in right now, but also to see what allowances he can afford, because the one thing that we as gym owners, if you don't own the building, you have a landlord that you're accountable to, but we also have to remember is that the landlord is accountable for their own costs of owning the building. So my landlord's been awesome as far as having an open line of communication with me and working with me how he can, as far as what he can let me get by for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. But I think that will relieve a lot of stress on facility owners, as long as you've had that conversation, because I talked to an associate of mine in the East, and to date, as of this last weekend, still hadn't talked to the gym owner or the building owner about his facility and his lease and his standing. So, he didn't know what was available to him from that standpoint. So I think, as somebody who's accountable for a brick and mortar, you just know what's available to you but I think it puts everybody's minds at ease if there is a communication that has been open. I mean, we're all having to kind of scramble for what we can at this time, but I think the biggest fear factor comes from not knowing where everybody else is, because some people are fine. They've got that big nest egg that can float them for a couple months, but then there are those that, as soon as things shut down a few weeks ago, they didn't know if they were going to be able to open up again, right? But
Sure.
I think a lot of it is just about communicating. Yeah, communicating with those above you. In this case, it's my landlord, but also from my perspective, in that I have personal trainers that, they train out of here as independent contractors. So them letting know that I'm in it, I want to see that this place is available for them to come back to. And, a lot of them said, hey, whatever you need to do, I will help out where I can. If I need to pay rent ahead, to make it through this time. And, that's one thing that's been very touching, in that they have an interest in this place being open. So I think a lot of that has been facilitated from the fact that I've been in open communication, some directly, but as a group, letting them know where I am, and all these loan applications that Wendy brought up, letting know that I am making efforts to help, get the doors open when they can be open.
And Prentiss,
yes.
to kind of piggyback off of that, and a lot of the information that's out there right now, I know that there's a ton of people that are filling out these forms, and they're trying to think about, what if their gym is closed for 3 to 6 months? And so, when you really are trying to think about how much money to ask for, or if you're going to go talk to your landlord, or you're going to talk to the bank for like a bridge loan or something, you also want to think about your employees too, whether they're 1099s or not, because if you are going to try to get this type of loan, and you can get something that's like $10,000, money that you don't have to repay, so kind of like here's an advancement that you aren't going to have to repay. Think about this too. If you just let your trainers go, and you don't really show that you as an owner care about your trainers, once this is lifted and everybody starts to come back to the gym, because everybody's going to have a mad rush to want to come back. We hope. I mean, that's our hope. And if you can find a way to stay open, you don't want to lose some of these great trainers, because then think about having a gym full of people that are looking for trainers, and then you don't have the trainers, and how much money it's going to cost you to retrain or to market to try to find trainers to fill these positions. So, kind of look at the big scheme. I mean, I think asking a landlord, for some kind of proactive like forgiveness. Is there a way that, you can kind of help me for 3 months, and then put that 3 months will move on to our lease at the end. And instead of it being done in December, can we move it to March? Because, it's valuable. If you can find people to help you, or ask, wealthy clients or something for some type of income. I mean, just try not to forget about the trainers, because they are the ones that are helping build your business and keep you afloat when things are good. So just kind of wanted to throw that in there too. So.
Absolutely. So now that, and this is all great stuff. And you know what, before we move on, I want to circle back. What I want to do is circle back and ask each of you to give your top 5 best practices. You dropped a lot of nuggets, but if you could summarize what both of you just said into 5 points to give to our listeners, of things that they can do right now to sustain themselves, what would that be? Let's go ahead and start with you, Ken.
Top 5. Okay, so the first thing I'd say is, from a business owner standpoint, call your landlord. Let them know where you are, what your are. Don't mean to, little, out there, but intentions are important, and how you are and what your intentions are, you got to put it out there, put it out there to the universe. Just let people know where you are, and they will help you. And that's the one thing that I've learned, is that, you let them know that you're in a time of stress and you're in a time of need, and it's okay to acknowledge that. So put it out there, and those that will help or can help will do what they can to do that. Communicate above and I'd say below you, but we're all at the same level, I think. So again, to piggyback on the previous thought, talk to the landlord. If you're a personal trainer, to the facility owner or your boss, just try and keep your finger on the pulse of things, because if you don't know, you're going to get stressed, and it helps keep them accountable as well towards the things that they said they're going to help you do. Like with what Wendy said, if they can offer you help, and they will, you're working with a good person. So just let them know, and acknowledge that you do need help when you can. The other thing too, from a business owner standpoint, one of the first things I did is I called my bank. I called my bank, and regarding things that I have out there, it's like, okay, what programs do you have available? So there's these downloads and websites that you can go to, but a lot of times calling the bank directly and making sure you understand what all your options are, because I've been on the phone a couple times, because it's like, I hang up, and then a question comes to mind. It's like, oh man, now I got to call them again, and now you're going to be on the phone for about 25-30 minutes just waiting. But that goes into my fourth point, which is you have to be patient. This is like what we've been talking about from the beginning of the call, is that things are changing, and you have to be able to roll the punches. So as new information comes out, things develop, your conditions are different. So you have to be able to adapt and overcome, if you will. But overall, I think to sum it all up is just try to look at for the light at the end of the tunnel. We will get through this. It's just about we get stuck in where we are and figuring out or feeling the stresses of where we are today. But if we can project ourselves 2 months, 3 months, 4 months down the road, and understand that, okay, if we do what we can today, we're going to be in the best spot we can possibly be in 3, 4, 5 months from now. So, be patient, get information, do what you can, and, just swim and paddle like everybody else is right now.
Okay, great. That is very good information. Thank you for that. And if you're listening to these two experts talk, I hope that you're taking some notes, and I hope that after we finish up here that you find some way to follow up on this information as it relates to your present situation, because we want everyone to succeed when we do get to that light at the end of the tunnel. Wendy, what are your top 5 points of how to, if you have I'll take a top 3. I'll take a top 3. What do you have?
I think first and foremost, you need to be proactive versus reactive. I think that's the easiest way of saying it, meaning you need to see financially where you are. Think about how much your family needs to survive each and every month. And then figure out, based on, again, we understand that there's not people that are just business owners. There are people that are 1099s, and again, without your client, you're bringing in no income. So, at that point, it's whether you need to try to look at, getting some type of loan to help you in this situation. And because, there are many out there, there's so many people that are struggling right now. The beautiful thing is that you're not alone. And we want to try to keep these gems afloat. We want to try to provide as much information as possible, but we can't do the work for you. Like, unfortunately, you're going to have to be the one that's going to have to look into some of this stuff and see what you can do to best help yourself. Number 2 would be communication. As Ken said, communicate with as many people as possible. If your clients are what brings you, your income, then you need to reach out to them. And I know we're going to talk about this next, but I reach out to my clients like once or twice a week, and it's mainly just to check in on them. But I think communication, knowing that they're still seeing that you're trying, and that their health and their livelihood is important to you, that is huge. And I think the last thing is really just, again, just try to stay positive, because this is a really crummy situation that we're all put in. And this is something that, I think when I say be positive, if you're listening to this podcast and you're sitting at home and your family's you're surrounded by your family and friends, then you should feel blessed, because there's a lot of people out there that are sick, that are quarantined, and we kind of have to look at it as, okay, what can we do to help ourselves, but then our families, and then at that point sit down with the pen and paper, get on the computer, look through these links, and then put pen to paper and fill out those forms and see what kind of relief and advances and loans that you qualify to get you through this time period.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that, both of you. That's very informative. And as I said previously, please take some notes on this and take this advice and run with it when you're done. The best information, best advice is stuff that you're going to act on and actually use. So please take that opportunity. And that's a perfect segue into our next topic. One of my favorite business motivation books is Who Moved My Cheese?
I love that book.
It appears that the cheese has been moved. So now we as an industry are going to have to consider a different way of doing things. And some of us were early adopters of using apps and the online space to conduct sessions. And some of us have to play a little catch up, and that's good. We'll all get to the same place. But what are you doing, or if you know of anyone in your circle, what are they doing now to navigate these times and deliver their sessions in more of an online space? Let's start with you, Wendy.
Well, again, I know for me personally, I think it depends on your clientele. I have clientele that revolve around a bunch of CEOs, and I have more athletes. And so for that, they don't really want to do the online training. And so my situation is different than Ken's. And I think, having both of us on this webinar is actually a good thing, because you can kind of get two different perspectives. You have to look at your clientele, see what it is that they want to do. So for my clients, we do a lot of telephone conferencing, and then I actually write out a bunch of programs. And so because they understand the terminology, I'm using exercises, and I can actually talk to them about, if I send them a program, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And I can shoot them video links if they don't know how to do it, or I can shoot a quick video of myself performing it and send it to them. That's how they choose to communicate with me. And so you can't sometimes force somebody to want to get on, different types of meetings such as Zoom or WebEx or something, or just assume that they want to FaceTime, because not a lot of people have time for that. And, and the thing is I want to do what is going to best help my clients. So, again, because of the clients that I deal with, I send texts every week. I have given phone calls to every one of them to let them know the situation that we are currently in the state of when the gym will reopen, and we can, as to date, because again, that keeps getting moved back. And then I send them little tips here and there. And again, so, the way that I'm actually building my business, and I don't know if I'm actually stepping ahead to where you want to go next, but I'm actually building out programs. And again, I've had a lot of these clients for a really long time. And so their big thing is, hey, can you send me a program or make me a program that's for 3 times a week? And so, they know exactly that I am very confident and comfortable in where they currently are. I do use the OPT model specifically, so they know what phase of training they're in. And then actually, I can build out a program for the entire month and send it to them. And then I charge them for that. And that's how I've been making money. And so it seems like it's easy, but when I send those programs for the month, I give them a call. I give them, I spend time with them over some of the programs to see if there's any confusions. Like, we just kind of do a quick glance. And then I check in with them. Like, if they want to do a program Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, then I check in with them on Monday nights, and Wednesday nights, and Friday nights, or Saturday nights, or whatever day we choose. Hey, how did that workout go? Did you feel, was it too easy, too hard? I try to get feedback, because if I need to make modifications, I easily can. But I mean, you think on a financial standpoint, people are like, but I don't want to do a Zoom meeting, or I can't do this, or I don't want to do that I don't want to use that type of platform. Well, I'm not using that platform. And if you think about it, it's simple. And I'm just going to use easy math. But let's say that you charge $10 for one program. and you did that 3 times a week, that's $30 a week that you're making off of one client. And if you did that for 4 weeks, which is 1 month, you're going to end up with $120 a month. And if you did that with 8 people, Prentiss or Ken, if you had 8 clients that just you wrote a program for, then that's $960 a month that you're making off of 8 clients, and you're just doing quick check-ins to see how they're doing. And then you can do other things on the side. You know, you can do some Zoom meetings or different types of meetings on a platform where you're doing a workout with them. But with my clients, they can't get on, you know, specifically at 8 o'clock because they may have a meeting that came up or something that they're doing, or they may have a 4-year-old that's like, Mommy, play with me. And, you know, and as a trainer, you know, we can't keep moving our schedules around to benefit those individuals. So there are other ways besides just having to get online. And again, a lot of people are just jumping on the horn, like, I've got to get on Zoom and I've got to do this. That's the only way I'm going to keep my clientele. And that's not it. Like, you have to really talk to them to find out the best approach for them. And then you need to adapt to their needs. And don't just think that it's Zoom or video conferencing or nothing, because that's not working for my clientele. So I'm a little different than what you're seeing sometimes online right now.
Okay, Ken, what's been your experience with navigating this online training space?
Online training space has been, it's taken some getting used to. Well, from the standpoint that, for one, you have to have some agreement on which format that you're going to use, because you know, we mentioned Zoom. I have clients that use Hangouts, some that use Messenger. And so, you know, there's been times where I've logged on to one and then it's like, oh, wait, I have to go on to the other. So just making sure, and I put that in my notes. Okay, I'll put Zoom, you know, this is a Zoom call, or this is a Hangouts call, or this is a Messenger call. So picking which mode of video conferencing has been one of those things that, you know, that has to be one more question I have to ask in getting that set up. But overall, it's actually been pretty interesting, because, you know, when I used to work at another facility 4 years ago, you know, when all of this happened, and I knew that going online and going virtual was going to have to be the format that I'll have to practice, you know, indefinitely. I reached out to clients that, you know, geographically were, you know, I couldn't see them anymore just because, you know, it's an hour commute, an hour and a half commute. But I've gotten some positive responses as far as being able to reconnect with old clients. So, you know, like for all the reasons that Wendy brought up, you know, they travel, or they're not traveling, but they have their own schedules to manipulate. So some are not available, or it's not their preference, or they'll just, you know, they'll do what they can on their own. But as far as online training goes, I've been able to reconnect with some older, some clients from, you know, 3-4 years ago that if it wasn't for that format, I wouldn't have reconnected with them. So the other part is just the technology, making sure that, okay, I have the same thing on my computer as I have on my phone, because if one's working, one isn't, I have to have a backup, because if this is how I'm going to make money, I have to make sure that I've kind of safeguarded how this communication is going to come through. So, but I've also been able to use it to my advantage in that I'll have 2 things set up. So my computer will be in front, and then I'll have my phone on the side, and now I can offer a 2-dimensional view. So just from an instructional standpoint, that way I don't have to keep stopping and turning and turn the other way. Can you see this? Can you see that? I'm trying to do this, you know. So that, you know, the technological aspect of it, just like, you know, setting up this call, you have to do a sound check, and then I have to make sure that they can see me. Is the lighting right? All of that good stuff. So from the technology standpoint, that's taken some getting used to. But from a connection, being able to reach out and touch someone, right? I've been able to do that more than, for all those that remember that commercial. But being able to just reconnect with people from before. I mean, that's the great thing, you know, and that, you know, people want to move, and then you did yourself a service and delivered, great training sessions, and you help them learn about their bodies, and you're listening to them as individuals, then there's no reason for clients from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, not to come back. So it gives you, your Rolodex got a lot bigger going virtual, from one aspect of it all.
And I think another thing to piggyback off of that, I mean, when you take a step back and you think about why people came to you to begin with, they were nervous, they were scared, they wanted to see results. I mean, we all know that that's why people come to see a trainer. Mm-hmm. But then the reason why people usually stay with you is, yes, they're getting results, but they also kind of look at you like you become a part of their family. And so I think you doing any kind of check-in and you showing that you're still there to support them and to provide them with any kind of information that revolves kind of in our area of expertise, whether it's something nutritional tips, exercises, a face-to-face on, whatever, FaceTime, Zoom, whatever you choose. It's all about making it personal. I mean, I think that's the whole thing. And right now, a lot of people are scared and they haven't reached out to their clients, and it's still not too late. So you need to reach out to people, or even people that haven't been training with you currently. Like Ken just said, go back into some of the people that you've trained in the past. That's how you're going to rebuild your business and say, hey, this is a crazy time for all. I wanted to check in on you and your family. Are you guys doing okay? Are you working out? Are you still taking care of yourself? Because these stresses, are causing, people to like their stress level and anxiety level right now are skyrocketing among all different aspects, not just in the exercise science field. So I think, you just showing that you care can actually help build your business more than you think it can.
These are all very, very good points. Absolutely. So we did have one question, and this is more of a specific question from Karina. And Karina, I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. If not, apologies. But Karina wants to know, what apps do you recommend? And I think you answered some of that, but what apps would you recommend if you were in a streaming situation? If you wanted to stream workouts with clients, what would you use?
Can you want to take
that? Zoom has been the more popular one. Like I said before, there's the trainers that were training in here when we were open, they had a pivot. And a lot of them in conversation have migrated over to Zoom. Has been the one that has come up consistently. Easy to use, and that's one that I had to start incorporating myself. And it's one that I've wound up preferring over anything else. But Zoom has been the one that has come up in all of the conversations as far as, for one, ease of use, but also from the standpoint that the majority of the clients have already, use that for their own. So that's come up a lot from the ease of transition, because they can go from one Zoom call to another. One's work related, the other one's workout related. Slack has been another one, Skype. But I'll just say that Zoom has been primarily it. And I already mentioned a couple others with Messenger and Hangouts. Those have come up just because of, those clients already have those apps. And that's what it's going to wind up coming down to, is what do they already have on their phone or their computer that's available. So, just to kind of lighten the stress of having to download another application that they have to create a username, password, and something else to click on. For all those reasons, that's why that one in particular has come up.
And to mention, right now, Zoom is actually, is free right now too. So I don't know if you guys know that, but there is usually a cost associated if you have some type of licensure with Zoom. But I think right now they realize what everyone's going through. So you might as well take advantage, because it is free for us and our service right now.
That is perfect. And I'll jump in, I'll interject, and I'll talk about this because I started online training when I moved to Arizona, probably about 8 years ago. So this was in the wild, wild west. There weren't all of these cool apps and all of these streaming services, but I was able to utilize a lot of the available technology. And I say that is that what I want our listeners to get is that it doesn't have to be complicated. Training is not about the app, although since this is NASM live, I would have to say if you want to give your clients an overhead squat assessment, yeah, you can use the Edge. As far as I'm concerned, there's only that one app that does that, or there is another app that does that assessment, but since this is NASM live, we do have an overhead squat assessment in there, so you would want to use Edge for that, and we're constantly making changes on that front. But I very simply, once I established a rapport with my clients, I had them send me simple camera videos. I made my own exercise library. I have a YouTube channel that is going to remain nameless now, but I would make my own exercise library of videos of me in my pajamas in my garage doing all of these exercises and assessments that I wanted them to see, complete with instructions, and then I'd have them send that back to me, and I would just push my clients' workouts for 8 months. I would push out workouts not for 8 months, but for 8 weeks. I would do 8 weeks of a workout and do constant weekly check-ins. So it's very simple. It's very simple. You don't have to make it complicated. And for large groups, I utilized a simple mailing service, and you can use anything like Constant Contact or Aweber to push out those communications. And yeah, just the main thing is it's stressful enough. So what I want people to think about is don't rush out and download every app, because it's going to add overwhelm on top of overwhelm. Just pick a couple of simple solutions, and keep in mind that your job is not we think it's the exercises and the assessments and all of that, but it's really building rapport with the clients and making sure that they're adopting a healthy lifestyle and that they're experiencing well-being, and the workout's just how we facilitate that. So keep it simple and keep your client number one in mind. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is actually that's all I wanted to talk about. But Karina did give us a question, and I have an answer for that, but I want to hear what the both of you have to say. Do you charge the same for online as you do for face-to-face sessions? What do you think, Ken?
Same price point. Price point. I mean, even though it's convenient, and even though there's equipment in my facility that they don't have at home, it is about the like you brought it up, it is about the attention. So if I'm watching you work out and I notice that you've got less optimal posture, you're doing things that are going to add more stress to the joints, and I'm helping you get into a better position than you would have otherwise done as if I had just sent you the workout. It's not just the accountability that if we have an 8 o'clock session, we're going to meet each other at 8 o'clock. Otherwise, you may or may not have done it, but about getting you in the best position possible to maximize that training session. So it's not as much about the equipment, the availability of, different ways to stress the body. It's about my knowledge in helping you perform the best that you can for that 45 or 60 minutes that we have together. So price point wise, I know a long answer to a great question, is that it's the same.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to have to agree with that. Again, I'm not doing Zoom with my clients, and so my situation's a little bit different. But even if I were, my price is my price, because it's an hour of my time. And again, it is my programming. It's still, I'm actually cueing. So you still are giving the personal training. You're designing the programs, you're telling them what to do, you're watching form, and you're doing the cues. So a lot of times people think, well, if I go online, it has to be cheaper. And again, people are coming to you for your knowledge. And so if you start reducing your price point, and let's say you were $100 a session and now you're charging 50 because you're doing it online, it's still the same amount of time. You're lessening what you're saying you're really worth, whether it's in person or online. So if this thing is lifted, why would they go back to see you other than maybe the stretching or something you may do if you do that type of neuromuscular stretching or you vaulting or whatever the case is. But you want to keep your price points about the same, because if not, you could actually hurt yourself once your business reopens face to face.
Yeah,
and I'll just add on. I'll add on to that with these in that. Sorry, I also have seen some support from the clientele. I mean, if our clients are savvy, they know what's happening, especially when it comes to fitness. And if you don't have a facility, there goes your income. So I've also seen clients that are on a recurring billing that even though they're not doing face to face, they're telling the trainers, don't cancel my billing, keep billing me. I want to support you. I want you to come out of this on the other side in the best position possible. And I've even seen some clients that have just said, hey, I know, you've got a family, you got a business you're trying to keep afloat. So, if your rate was $100, let me give you 120 while we're in this situation together. So I've also seen clients go the other way and want to really, just help out more than is asked for. So, and I've heard of that happening more often than not. So, and with much gratitude from the personal trainers on the receiving end.
Yeah. And one thing that I'd want to stress to our listeners, and correct me, you can stop me if I'm going down the wrong path, just to summarize what both of you have said, you're providing value that transcends just the mere face-to-face meeting. I mean, you spent a lot of time gaining the expertise, you put pen to paper, you do the assessments, whether you get your whether you get the video assessment in the mailbox or whether you're doing it in real time, you're still taking time to evaluate that person. You're still taking time to give cues and adjust workouts where it's necessary. So please never, I know these are tough times, but if you've entered into that relationship, don't undervalue or devalue yourself in this case just because the platform has changed.
Right. Plus, again, 100%. Sending tips and sending like little text messages here and there, like, hey, I found this nutritional tip, like don't forget to do this. I mean, little things go a really long way. And so the more you bug them, the more they can't forget about you. So that's, they really do appreciate that long term. So.
Perfect. And that leads us into our final topic, and that is motivation. And we're going to break down motivation into a couple parts because we are all in this together. We've now been forced to have to see our families all day long, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but we're used to.
It's an awesome thing.
But now we have to work with everybody. We have to work with each other 8 hours a day. We're competing for Wi-Fi bandwidth, sofa space when we need to take a break. And so what are you doing? What are you doing first to stay motivated, to stay healthy so that you can be more effective or as effective or even more effective for your clients who may be going through stressful situations as well? Cam?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that one of the things that we all respond to is, positive encouragement. And for me, it's been about celebrating the small wins. A win is a win. And if it's the fact that, my client ate broccoli yesterday, I'm like, awesome. Hey, good job eating that broccoli. you did. And by client, I mean my son. Good job eating that broccoli. You right on. You do that. So whatever whatever win you find to celebrate, whether they walked around the block, they drank an extra glass of water, then celebrate that. So when you're doing your check-ins, find the things that, look for that low-hanging fruit to celebrate. Glass of water, they, ate fruits and vegetables. They got closer to that 11 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. They went for a walk. They did their breathing exercises. They foam rolled for a few minutes. Whatever it is, find something to celebrate. Find something to, build a, springboard off of for that next task. So especially in these times, you got to find what you got to find what you can. And if you have to look, if you can't find something, keep looking. It's there, and they need it more now than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Wendy, what are you doing?
It's basically the same thing. I mean, instead of me, I'm constantly checking in on my clients. Like I said, I usually send them a text 1 to 2 times a week. And I'm like, so tell me what you've done in the last couple of days. What are you doing with your family? Have you been outside? And it's amazing the feedback that I'm getting. I have one client who is, he claims he's older. I personally keep saying he's on the young side because as I get older, everybody else gets younger. You know how that works. But, his big thing was, he couldn't get off the floor without using his hands. So we started working on that. And I'm like, next time I see you, I want to see if you can do that. And so he actually sent me a text yesterday, like, I did this for the first time. And I mean, you would have thought that he won the lottery on my end. I'm like, I'm so proud of you. Again, they're looking for, they're not getting it necessarily from if it's a male, they're not getting that from their wife. I mean, how many times have you gone to your wife and said, woo, you folded laundry, I mean, they're looking for it.
Every single day.
I mean, they really are looking for that motivation. And anyway, like Ken said, it's a win regardless. But that is an actual really big deal because that was something that I know he couldn't do before, like the last time I saw him. And so the fact that he had been working on that every single day and then actually did it was amazing. And so, if it's, taking my kid got a new quad for his birthday. And so now the quad can go around the block. So now it's like I'm power walking, trying to keep up with him. I mean, that's a big thing for us because again, that was something we couldn't do before, and it's quality family time. So it's the little things, but it's the accidental exercise that we've talked about. So, asking your clients, what are you doing? And then acknowledging, like, if you can keep doing that every single day, think about how many calories you're burning and the fact that you didn't reach for the Cheetos and you grabbed an apple, like that's a big deal, because right now people are eating worse than they ever have. They're not moving half as much as you think they are because again, now they're trying to figure out how to work and be at home. So I think just as much motivation and reminders that you can send out or whatever, I think that's important.
So let's backtrack a little bit. And those are awesome answers for what to do for the client. But there are trainers who are struggling, and there is a perception, whether we believe it or not, is that we may be the pinnacle of health and fitness. We have all of this knowledge. We never falter. And I'm going to, full disclosure for everyone listening to me, never met a brownie I didn't like. So, and I'd like to think my ego is telling me that for my age, I'm in reasonable condition, but it's difficult to maintain that for oneself and then to keep that energy level high in order to support other people. So specifically, what are you two doing for yourselves so that you can stay on top to be that person that your clients and your families need you to be?
Well, I mean, I can go first, I guess. I mean, I think, again, I think it depends. I mean, every day in my house is different every single day. I mean, because again, I don't know what my kid's going to want to do, and I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but I think for myself, it's really trying to push myself to take the dogs for a walk, instead of doing it once a day, do it twice a day, go outside with my kid and play with him and, he's, be involved, which is something that I used to take for granted. And now it's like, hey, we're making this a point to do because we have the time to do it. So I think the family time and all that, I think just getting outside and being active more and not allowing myself to sit for an extended period of time, which before I would do when my kids at school, I would sit on my computer for 4 or 5 hours trying to knock it down and get it done. And then when he comes home, it's, get him down for a rest, make sure he gets a bath, time to fix dinner. And then sometimes I would forget to do stuff for myself. So I think now putting it in my calendar and actually making time for me and my family together is something that I wasn't able to do before, that now maybe this has kind of opened my eyes of why haven't I been doing this all along? Now, on a different aspect, when it comes to eating, I am not a huge cook. Like I've never been a big person to cook. So we would go out a fair amount with my family, like, hey, we're going to grab this for dinner, or we're going to go here. And so we went out more than I would actually cook. And so now this has actually forced me to look into more healthier recipes and getting different ideas. And then also being creative, because, when you go to the grocery store, you're going for something specific and they may be out of it. So what is another good alternative? A big challenge for me is at night not eating Oreos and milk. That's something that is easily found in my cupboard. And I'm like, ooh, but it's also trying to have the will to say no, because some of the stuff is in there. I mean, nobody's perfect, and we all are going to have our treat every once in a while. But it's trying to remember too that we are human. We are going to make mistakes. If you really want that cookie, eat that cookie. But then remember that you had that cookie the next day and try to be a little more active. So instead of just always punishing yourself like you have to be perfect, realize that we're all human, and try to make smart choices, but know that sometimes you deserve a little extra treat too. So.
And Mr. Miller, what are you doing?
The biggest thing that I had to, because I am spending a lot of time at home, like everybody else, I take who I can with me. So like what Wendy's saying, you're going out for a walk. We're doing it as a family. I'm walking the dog 3-4 times a day, and trying to get a run in there. So bringing up the intensity. I think that's one part. If I can get a little bit of a little spike in that activity meter, as many times I can get, which some days it's one, but finding those opportunities when I can and bringing the family along with me as I do it. So it could be, just going to the park again, trying to stay away from everybody else who's at the park, but and trying to play and just moving freely and not thinking about, especially when it comes to, the training methodology. It's not always about, flexibility, core balance, reactive, and resistance training. Movement is movement. And, changing my mindset around that is like, hey, I'm outside, I'm breathing fresh air. I'm doing what I can to interact and engage with my children. And, and if I can race, do a little 10-yard, 20-yard sprint, playing tag or something like that, play can be a big calorie spender. And, keeping that in mind. But also the other part of it, and talking to other friends of mine in the industry, is just don't overcomplicate it. You do 10 prisoner squats, 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 side lunges, and do that 2 to 3 times, between, Netflix movies, it's, just get something in there. I think it was Rick Ritchie that said, a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. So just keeping that mindset as well. So, play when I can and just don't overthink it. Just, just move 2 minutes consecutively and then sit down behind the computer again. But, I'm just trying not to be, taking up more space than I do now. That's my one objective.
Okay.
But that, in a nutshell, that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Try on your skinny jeans every once in a while and get out of your yoga pants. That's also another.
Absolutely.
Ken, I know you and
mean
your yoga
if
pants.
it has a drawstring?
All right. Well, what I want to do is I want to thank you all for coming on today. And I know that we will see you Friday for another episode.
Yep.
Looking forward to that. But before we go, do you have any any parting words of wisdom that we can give to our listeners? And also tell us your how to contact you on social media, your Instagram handle, and all that good stuff.
Oh my.
Yes, there's a lot there. Just a one sentence parting shot, and how they can get in touch with you for more information. Wendy? Yeah.
Well, I think I think mine is just try to stay positive throughout all this. There's a lot of people that are actually, around that's willing to help. Look at the links that we provided. If you're a business owner, try to reach out to your clients, provide motivation, be a support system to not only, your coworkers, but your friends, your families. Try to connect with people that you haven't connected with. Stay active yourself, try to watch what you're eating, and, look at this as a time to just become closer to your family instead of just always stressing about kind of the work and negative aspect. You've got to find some positivity throughout this. As for I don't even know what my handle is. I'm going to have to look it up. But basically, short and skinny, wendy.batts@nasm.com if you want to email me. But I am on Instagram, and I think it's just Wendy Batts. I think I can find out for sure. But
Okay, Ken.
A mentor of mine some years ago, Neil Spruce, said, if you take care of number one, you take care of number two. So like what Wendy said, or, recurring thought through this whole call has been, you have to take care of yourselves. If you don't take care of yourself and you're the one that needs the help, then you can't help as many people as you possibly can. So wash your hands, all the things that we're supposed to be doing, washing our hands, social distancing, being mindful of your environment and all that stuff. Be healthy. If you're healthy, stay healthy, right? If you're healthy, stay healthy. Exercise, move, get some air, drink some water, get your sleep. In a nutshell, that's it. As far as how to get a hold of me, ken.miller@nasm.org. And my Instagram is KJFitLab on Instagram. So hopefully we can connect more in the future.
Okay, well, I thank both of you. Again, this has been very informative, and I hope those of you who are out there listening, who've hung on with us, I know we went a little bit over time, but for those of you who hung on with us, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you in our next broadcast. This is NASM Instagram, and we are signing off.